What is up, YouTube? Today we're gonna be looking at all the controllers I own for fighting games, which is a lot of them. The reason I want to make this video is because I think I have a very unique perspective on controllers. I've actually competed in tournament with 3 different types of controllers. I've competed on Leverless, on a fight stick, and I've competed on pad. And currently, depending on the game, I will use one of the 3 types of controllers. So I have a lot of built-up knowledge. I haven't made a controller video, controller guide, and I get a lot of controller questions, so hope to explain all of them in this video. I'm gonna start off with probably the most boring option, but the most essential because they're probably the most popular pads in the FGC, which are PS4 and PS5 pads.
Oh shit, I took my fucking controller!
This setup's a little jank. You're gonna have to work with me. I'm not a pro controller reviewer, but yeah, so we have a lot of different controllers to kind of show off. Do you guys know the difference? Think to yourself, why am I showing you 4 different PlayStation pads? Anyways, let's talk about them and what I would recommend. So this is a PlayStation 4 pad. This was by far the most common controller used in the fighting game community for very good reason. It's very accessible. Games were played on the PlayStation 4. It's generally pretty good. It's one of the best D-pads I've ever used for a controller. Very, very consistent. And in fact, one of the main advantages this pad has over the PS5 pad is the D-pad, and to the point where, you know, some people will actually take apart the PS5 pad and put in the PS4 pad. It's also very lightweight controlled compared to the PS5 controller, and generally it's just an overall solid controller, but it's kind of fallen out in favor because a lot of offline tournaments are now using PS5, which means that this controller will no longer natively work, which means that if in order to use this you need a converter. I actually have a converter too, funny enough, because some of my other controllers require a converter. This is like it's a Brooks converter. This is the Wingman FGC, but there's a few others that will work with PS4 controllers. So these are also very common. So a setup like this is probably what you're gonna see most often with a PS4 pad, where the USB goes into the converter sticks into the PS5, right? It does introduce a little bit of input lag, but it's nothing significant. It's very easily playable. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, 2 downsides. 1, does not work on PS5 unless you have a converter. And 2, these things break like crazy. Literally, Sonic Fox told me they have a closet full, literally full of dead PS4 controllers. They literally break, yeah, like every 2 months, every 3 months. I went through at least like 4 or 5 of them, and I play it on stick at the time. These D-pads are really good. It doesn't take very long to break them in, but they can short out very easily. And yeah, they're also micro USB sometimes that can fall out. That's kind of cringe too. So not very reliable, but the D-pad is really, really good. That being said, a lot of people are switching to PS5 pads, and most notably, Punk has switched. He used to be exclusively PS4 pad. He just recently, as of Evo Japan, I believe, switched to PS5 pad. And the reason is sometimes these can fault. Sometimes when you're going from PS4 to a PS5, things can break. And that's what happened to him in tournament. He wasn't able to use his PS4 controller, and it didn't work out. All right, so I have 3 PS5 controllers. So this is the base PS5 controller. This is the one that comes with your console. It has advantages over the PS4 controller, which is it obviously works on PlayStation 5. That's about it. I've also never had to replace the D-pad on these. They seem more reliable. A lot of people complain about the D-pad on the PS5 controller. They think there's a lot of like drift. And for me, this is the DualSense Edge, by the way. It's like the more premium version. They have essentially the same D-pad. Some people think there's a difference. I think it's placebo. The most common thing that'll happen to me when I'm using this controller is I'll miss the corners. The corners are actually like pretty hard to hit. And so like if I'm lazy or if I don't put enough pressure on the corners, like I'll just miss it, right? I'll just go from down, like right here, where I go from down to down forward. And so I have to be like very careful with my inputs when I'm using this pad, because if I'm not, I'll just miss the down back and down forward. Or sometimes I'll be like holding down back, and if I like let go some of the pressure, I'll just get back instead, even though I feel like I'm holding down back. I guess it's kind of hard to see. Like you can't really see much of a thumb difference. but like I'm barely moving my thumb, and to me, like the diagonals are a little hard to press on these D-pads. But yeah, this is a DualSense Edge. I think it has a few advantages. I knew NuckleDu and Punk use this controller. I use this controller for Street Fighter 6 as well. I think it has a few advantages over the regular PS5 controller. One, the triggers are the nicest triggers I've ever felt. So there's like this little on the back here. You can kind of control how far the triggers get pressed. So if I have this like little, how do you say, like slider all the way up, it presses all the way. But because I want to be able to react right away and I want to be able to mash it, I have this pushed all the way down, which means that it barely gets depressed and this activates. So this activates like almost immediately, which is really, really cool. The other thing is it has back button. You can have 2 buttons on the back. I have this, and this is actually my DI, map to DI. And this is 100% tournament legal. And the reason this is tournament legal, you're not allowed to have the same button bound to two buttons, right? The way I have it is L1, it does nothing. It literally does nothing. So the customizability with this controller is amazing. Another thing I was playing around, so you can have another button, and I've actually played around with mapping this to up. And you can like kind of like fuzzy jump and stuff with this. You basically do like delayed jumps because I can like hold down back, and on the back I can like let go and hit up. Another cool thing you could do with this pad, actually just any PS5 and pad in general, is you could swap these. So I can do something like this, and then if I want to hit up forward, I can like flick up, right? Which I think is a little bit better, right? So let me show you in game. Oh my god, this is so hard to show. There's a couple frames. Wait, what am I doing? We have the technology. Hold up. I don't know why I thought it took me this long into the video to figure this part out. Yeah, so one of the things you can do, right? So when I hit up forward, you see how that it takes like a few frames for me to jump? Yeah, you can kind of, yeah, so that took me 5 frames to jump. But if I do this, it's instant. So I can go down, back, up, forward, and you're basically getting a leverless type of input style precision, being able to jump immediately after blocking, right? Which is really good. I'm still not the best at it, but you guys see the vision where if you time it right, you can get it to be within like a frame. Compared to this, which is like, I don't think my thumb can like humanly move that fast. And obviously the downside of this controller is you still have the same D-pad, which is kind of It's still not the best D-pad, and it's $200. Yeah, $200 is a lot for a controller. But at the same time, you know, it's about the same price as a Leverless, the same price as a fight stick. So if you do play on pad, you want to stick with pad, I do highly recommend this controller. I think it's nice. So I have a 4th controller here. This is a custom controller by Battle Beaver Customs. I bought this. I didn't get sponsored or anything. This controller is interesting. I thought it'd just be interesting to play with. It also cost me around 200. Why I spent 200 bucks on this, I don't know. I guess you could just call me a pad enthusiast. But it kind of has like all the bells and whistles. So the triggers have like a early stop in them. These are actually some of the best triggers I felt. They have like a mechanical switch. You can see it like barely. It's barely being depressed. This is barely moving. Same thing with these buttons. These buttons are mechanical. You can't really see, but yeah, I'm pressing this. It feels good to mash. You can see I can mash it quite fast. I don't think I can mash a PS5 button that quick. I guess it's pretty similar. I don't know. Maybe someone could do the math. It feels a little harder to mash. Let's put it that way. Or not as satisfying. But realistically, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. These also have a couple back buttons. These back buttons, honestly, they kind of suck compared to the back buttons of the DualSense Edge. They're a little hard to press. They don't like press down right away. I'm not a big fan of these. If you want something with a back button, I've tried like the PDP and like some other controllers. These have the best back buttons by far, in my opinion, for fighting games. So one of the biggest complaints about this was the D-pad, right? So I wanted to try the mechanical switch D-pad that they have here. And the idea of the mechanical switch D-pad is it's 4 separate buttons, which means no matter how I press this button right here, I will never get a input that's not right. Doesn't matter how I press it, I'm always getting right. Compared to DualSense Edge or like any other pad in existence, you can see like even though I'm only pressing left, I can get down inputs, right? I can get up inputs. So yeah, you would think, oh, that's really great. Damn, this controller must be really nice. And I think it is, but the learning curve on this is insane. It's so much harder to like roll your inputs Like, here's just me trying to do a half circle. I literally can't. I've been playing fighting games for 10 years, and it's hard for me to do a half circle on this pad without like consciously trying to do it. I think this pad might actually, like, these mechanical switches might theoretically be better, but it's so hard to, like, even just like walking back and forth. Like, it's hard to use. Like, I'll just randomly get jumps. I'll just randomly get down inputs. Yeah, see, like I'm trying not to hit the up, but because the switches are so sensitive compared to the PS5 pad, like, I'll just randomly hit shit. I think overall this controller might be like theoretically more optimal, but it's really hard to use, and I do not wish to play up the learning curve. And because I've been mashing on this PS5 controller for so many years, see, like, look, I'm not getting any jumps, right? Even though it's the same input, I'm not getting any jumps, and it's because, like, it doesn't matter if I brush up against the up, and I'm just used to it, right? The one thing you can do, what I'd recommend, I think theoretically the most optimal controller is you get this, the DualSense Edge, and you replace the D-pad with like a PS4 pad or like the mechanical switches if you really want to, and then you're probably like the Ferrari of pads. I think that's the way to go. But yeah, overall, I like pad. I play it currently for Street Fighter and Grand Blue. So if I'm in a tournament, I am using this pad right here. Right? If I'm playing rank, I'm using this shit. I like it a lot. The reason I use pad for these games is I think pad has a distinct advantage where games that are very reaction heavy, like Street Fighter, like Grand Blue, and being able to like have a finger over like the parry button and the DI button at the same time is, I think, really, really essential. That way it can minimize reaction time as compared to a stick or leverless where your hands kind of like spread all about. My proximity to the buttons, like I literally have my finger over like every single button at the same time. Where a stick, it's like, oh my god, is this even gonna fit? So like a stick, for example, like I can only have my button, like my hands over 5 buttons. And if I have to hit this, I have to slide my finger over. This takes a little bit of time. So this is one of the disadvantages of stick and leverless, is that like you can't have your fingers over every single button at the same time. Speaking of which, let's talk about sticks.
You hold your stick however it feels comfortable. That's between your hand and your stick, and I'm not getting involved.
I have 2 sticks currently. I currently use this for Guilty Gear. I think it's just because this is what I learned Guilty Gear on. I probably would have played Street Fighter on the hitbox cross-up, except they banned the use. So right now, the CPT ruling is if I want a fuzzy jump, or which means like a delayed jump, and I'm holding down back, and I want to use this to overwrite the jump, or even just be able to do something like this so I could jump out of the corner, which I do all the time in Guilty Gear. This is amazing in Guilty Gear. This does not work in Street Fighter. This is literally banned in Street Fighter. You have to unbind this from up in Street Fighter. So I didn't want to cheat. And you can see it works perfectly fine. So look, I'm holding down and I'm hitting up. Look, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is fucking cracked. Look, best fuzzy jumps in the fucking game. Frame 1 fuzzy jump every time. Overall, I think stick is okay. I think stick's an inferior, in general, it's an inferior version to leverless, but I think cross-up gets you as close as possible there, right? Yeah, and one thing some people, the cool thing about the cross-up is there's like software that you can like kind of customize what the buttons are, right? So I've always used the default setting, but like I actually know a couple players, I guess Itabashi and Flash Metroid played with it a bit, where they turned off up. So if I'm hitting this, it'll actually do nothing. And there's like other customizations you can do. I think in theory, and like 20XX, this might actually be the best, most optimal controller ever. But I think practically it's not. I think leverless is superior for a few reasons, right? So while fuzzy jump is good, I think another thing I value really highly about leverless is the movement, right? So if I'm moving with my right hand, right, you see how crisp this movement is? Look where my fingers are. I have my fingers, even if I do something like this, right? Like I have my stick holding right and I'm using left to move, and like I get this like super crisp input with like no neutral inputs. The main issue is that I'm not able to I don't have my fingers over the other buttons, right? So if I need to like quickly check a drive rush with a jab, I have to move my finger. This takes like several frames to do. I think it's too hard to pilot. So realistically, the only thing I use it for, even though I've been playing on this stick for like 3 years, is jumping, because like it's easier to hit hit the jump button. And I think technically, like sometimes in Guilty Gear, I will block like on knockdown. I will do like left right blocking in Guilty Gear because it doesn't matter. Like I'm only gonna block, right? Like against like melee or somewhere where I need to be able to react as fast as possible, and I can't take these couple extra frames for the stick to move from left to right and be in a neutral input. It's a little bit expensive, but most sticks are. So yeah, I think if you wanted a stick, this would be my recommendation. I do like it highly. I have no desire to get any other type of stick. The only other sticks I have, I got like my OG controllers. So you guys have probably seen these, right? Yeah, I honestly, as someone that's used, I used to have a combo. I used to play exclusively stick back from like 2012 to like 2017 ish. I really don't think it really matters what stick you use. I'm gonna keep it a buck. They're all super similar. The only thing that matters are what these parts are, right? What is this stick? What are these buttons, right? I've always stuck with Samwas. Samwas are perfectly fine. People make better buttons now. I think I'd always stick with a Samwa stick just because I'm used to it. But realistically, like I know there's different layouts. So for example, you see how like this is like, it's a little curved. These are all in a row, right? These buttons are all in a row. Or if you look at my hitbox cross-up, there's a little bit of curvature. You see how like this is a little bit higher than this button. There's a little bit of curvature. Get whatever shell you like, as long as it doesn't have like disconnecting problems like the old Razors used to. Oh yeah, this is something cool I got in recently. This is a Flashtap button, and the cool thing is like you can probably hear like how little this is being pressed down. So I think this is the direction the FGC is going in, where compared to Samwas that can be depressed a lot more. This is my first ever Leverless. I was gifted. They don't make them anymore. I don't even remember the name. You'll just have to trust me. But you see how much these are being depressed. You see how like how much travel time there is from like the top of the button to the bottom. So this travel time is really important because like I can't really mash it. I can mash it fast, but like I can't really mash it that fast, right? So I think this is the direction fighting game controllers are gonna go, or they're all gonna have these like super low actuation point buttons, which is pretty optimal. And a lot of like the Japanese players are using buttons like this. There's actually so many different kinds, but I'm gonna shout out this because they sent me these buttons for free, which is Flashtap. I think they're great. They're also like a little different. So like if you look at the bottom, I was really confused. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to plug this thing in? But if you look at the side, like the connectors are right here.
If you think it's cool, try it out. Let me tell you, I'm going to be returning this as soon as possible, and I'm probably never going to touch one again.
All right, so let's talk about Leverless. So I got this thing. Honestly, this is probably... I should shout these guys out. Leverless technology has advanced a lot in the last few years. So when I got this, I feel like technology, there was not very many companies out that made this. And so there's like, you know, there's some faults with the design, right? But as Leverless controllers continue to evolve, they've honestly gone way more popular and way better, like straight up, right? So I'm even repping a Hitbox hoodie. This let's talk. This is a Hout 42. I actually forget the exact type. I bought this on my own. They actually offered to sponsor me, but I couldn't guarantee I was gonna do a video, so I said, "Nah, I'm good, bro." This thing's really nice. This was my go-to recommendation for new players if they're trying to get a Leverless, because this thing's under $100. Quite good weight. It's actually quite weighty. It has all these additional buttons, right? Like I don't even know how I ever use this one. I like literally. So my hands like this. Like how the fuck would I ever use this? I have no clue. Realistically, if you look at a lot of the pro Street Fighter players, they have this one, right? So it's all of this, and then they have this button right here. So when my hand's gonna be like this, and I have a thumb. My thumb's always over DI. So if I see it, I can press it, right? And then perfect parry is right here. And so I have my fingers are always over perfect parry and DI. If this button doesn't exist, you have to use your pinky for both perfect parry or DI, or you have to have like some weird contortion of your hand. Yeah, I think this button here is really good. And especially if you're learning fighting games from like brand new, you should probably get a controller with this button. That being said, I think the main thing I don't like about this controller is these buttons, I'm not a big fan of these buttons. I'm gonna keep it real. I know you can replace them. I know you could get something a little bit more crunchier, but these are like very mushy buttons that I don't like, right? Like these don't feel that great to hit. They're also kind of like, they take a little bit of effort to press down, and even the actuation time, like compared to the buttons that you saw before, like you see these get pressed down quite a bit, right? You can actually see the physical movement. If I were to like actually use this controller competitively, I would probably like switch out some of the switches, but I think overall as a starter controller, I think this is great. I think literally the only problem is the keycaps. I think everything else works great. Yeah, no issue on my end, right? All right, so this thing was just sent to me. This is called a Raiden box, and part of the reason I wanted to share this is I think this controller is just really cool. The packaging looks cool, and it's actually really cheap. Think of this as like, this is the best Hout competitor that I've seen, right? Open this up, packaging very simple. This is the controller. I like it a lot. So the main disadvantage of the Hout is, one, it's a little bit bigger, right? So if you like smaller controllers, this is probably your go-to. But also I like the switches. So it actually comes with much better switches in my opinion. So if you don't want to like go through the hassle of like changing them out. So yeah, this thing's really cool. Plugs in by USB-C. Pretty much all Leverless do nowadays, which is really nice. There's this, it's obviously LED, which is cool. I think the Hout is too. Yeah, a lot of them are LED, right? But I think the main advantage this thing has over the Hout is, one, it's again comparable price, but two, these buttons actually feel quite nice. The input delay is higher when the Brooks is in the PS5. Yeah, so yeah, if you're using some of these controllers, you do need the Brooks, which is unfortunate. The higher end Leverless, which we'll show off in a bit, they don't need the Brooks. So some of them, like the Razor and the Overdrive, which I have, don't need the Brooks. You can just plug in directly, which is really, really nice, which means you're gonna get a little less input lag. You don't have to fumble around for converter. You don't like accidentally forget your converter, at home. I'm so bad doing controller reviews. What else should I talk about? I feel like I'm just like, yeah, this controller feels good. It looks cool. Yeah, controller makes nice clicky sounds. $80, which is very, very competitive. So to me, these are like the kind of the best cheap options out on the market right now. I think the advantage that this has over the Hout is it has better buttons, so you don't have to like fumble around with replacing the keycaps. Also, it's smaller, so if you want something that's a little smaller size, this is probably your go-to. The obvious downside is you don't have the extra buttons. I think the extra buttons are really nice on the Hout, and I think it's really good to get used to. So kind of depends what you like. I think they're both great controllers. I really think beginners can't go wrong with either one. All right, so this is the Tesseract. This is actually an older model. They might actually still sell this. This thing is pretty interesting. So it's pretty similar price point to the other two, but it's super light. This is literally the lightest controller. I've tried snack boxes. I've tried other things. This thing is insanely light. Insanely light. It's like, it must be like 3D printed with like basically like a hollow inside. These buttons are non-standard. Their buttons are pretty decent. I actually really like the buttons, but I don't think they're very replaceable. They have newer versions. This thing's nice. This was sent to me for free too. Yeah, so right now they have the Hypercube Pro. I've tried this IRL. It's basically like this, but it's weightier. It has shinier buttons. It's aluminum instead of plastic. But this thing is $229. This thing, the Pro is expensive. They only have the other version. Oh shoot, they only have the other version. I guess you do need PS5. So I'm not sure. The only advantage I'd say that Tesseract has over other controllers is that it's really small. So if you're looking for something like that has this kind of layout, this might be for you, with the extra buttons too. It's small and it has the extra buttons. I don't think there's really much that has that. Even like the snack box, for example, which is like its main competitor, you don't have the extra buttons with this. The Tesseract's probably a little bit more expensive, but it's probably a little bit more premium, and you get the 2 extra buttons. So this is the nicest Leverless I have. It's called the Overdrive. I think these guys need to do better promotion. I think these guys need to do more stuff, because I think this is the best Leverless, premium Leverless out there. I like non-biased. I did get this controller for free, but I already gave them the video that I'm like, here you go. Like, you guys give me a controller, I give you a video. This is not sponsored anymore. I do really like this controller. And the reason is perfect size, perfect like premium weight. It's not gonna like slide off. I like how you have a little bit extra space here. So a lot of like Leverlesses, for example, show you guys the Raiden box. You see how there's not this little extra space here. Because of that, this is a little bit more comfortable for me to use. And another benefit, it natively works on PS5. PS5, which is really, really nice. So you don't have to like fumble around with converters. But the main reason I prefer it over the Victrix and the Razer, despite not owning either one of them, so it's cheaper. The old one used to be $250. This one's now, I think, at $285. But the cool thing is you get the extra buttons and it's the same price. I actually like, yeah, Overdrive people, send me one of these. This thing looks so sick. So if you want like a premium leverless, okay, maybe I can't recommend it because it's sold out. But yeah, this thing's great. I love this thing. To me, I want something that's a little bit bigger. So stuff like the Raiden box, it's too small for me. This is just, obviously you can see the difference. This is just too small. And compared to the HAL, I just like the buttons better. Also, like, the HAL is very thin compared to the Overdrive. Right, you can't really see it, but yeah, look how thin that is compared to the other thing. So I don't know, I just like something with a little more thickness. I know it's not gonna slide off on my lap. The ergonomics of the spacing, just I don't know, maybe I'm a boomer. It feels better on my hand for long play sessions. So I'm a big shill of this. Yeah, I think honestly, like if I could give you a recommendation around leverless, I do think a lot of it just comes down to preference, right? What kind of size do you want? What kind of layout do you want? How much do you want to spend? Pretty much every single option is going to be a good option. I don't think there's really any bad options. Yeah, show the keyboard. I might keep it a buck. I don't know how people play on keyboard. This thing's seen better days. I've had this thing for like 4 years. Don't judge the grime. You can play this game on keyboard. As you can see, I am playing. I don't know how the buttons work. You know, I actually did play keyboard for a while, and if you really want to be budget, like you actually can play on keyboard. I don't think it's optimal. I'm really bad doing DPs on keyboard. Actually, I'm not that bad. Yeah, and this is like sort of mechanical. It's not like a true mechanical, but like the buttons are clicky and they're low profile. So this is actually probably one of the best FGC keyboards. I'm not gonna lie. This actually feels pretty good. I haven't played it much, but compared to like old keys that take a while to depress, this probably feels a lot better. I've actually seen some people that like will take this keyboard, they have a converter, and they'll play it on PS5. What are the advantages of leverless over pad? So I think leverless, I think stick's the worst controller. Cross-up comes close. I think pad and leverless are kind of like the two competing at the top in my mind. Obviously, the main thing with leverless, we'll use keyboard just because it's already hooked up. You can move a lot easier, right? Like the movement's a lot more precise. You don't have to return through neutral. So if I time my buttons correctly, I can get that left, right, left, right, left, right without any gap in between where I'm in neutral, which means I can basically walk and block quicker. So at high level, that's really important because it allows you to play a little bit sharper neutral. Also, I think the inputs are a little bit more precise. I think blocking like cross-ups, for example, is easier. You can do it a little bit quicker because again, you could switch your finger from left to right way easier than you can on pad. That being said, I think pad does have some advantages over leverless. One being the fact that it's obviously going to be a lot more portable. It's just literally this thing. I think it's also like it's more intuitive. I think pad's just easier to learn because like people have played pad on other games. So I think you kind of have like a EXP boost advantage, so to speak. And also the fact that you have your fingers above every single button, I think your reactions in general just a little quicker with pad. But if I could give any overall advice, it's use whatever controller you're comfortable with. People have won Evo with PS1 controllers. They've won with stick. They've won with pad. They've won with leverless. It really does not matter. In my opinion, it does not matter what controller you use, unless you're like the 0.001% of a population. Even then, I don't even think it matters that much because there's so many different things to improve on in fighting games that are not your controller, right? If keyboard hurts your hand after a day of playing, and this does not, and this feels perfectly fine, then play with the pad, right? I think ergonomics should be the number one, 100% number one consideration when it comes to your controller. You don't need to buy $300 controllers to figure that out. You don't need to buy anything crazy. You just need to figure out what's comfortable for you, what feels good to play, and I think that should trump almost anything. In my opinion, as opposed to what's truly optimal, because fighting games are so far from like being solved. Even if leverless is like 1% more optimal than like a pad or 2% more optimal than a stick, it really doesn't matter because there's so many other ways to make that up. Maybe it's just having better reads or better reactions or better knowledge of the game. Really, truly very few games I've been like, damn, I should have had a better controller. Let me know what you think about my controller video. I don't know. I'm new to this. Like, I literally have like one controller video on the channel, but this is fun to make. I like sharing. I get this question a lot. I think controllers are fun to talk about. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe I need more controllers. Maybe I need to respond to sponsors when they email me. They're like, hey, can we send you a controller? And I just ignore them because I'm too busy. But if you want me to not ignore these sponsor emails and you want me to review more controllers, let me know down in the comments below. And you can let me know by like, sharing, and subscribing. And if this helped your controller choice at all, let me know. Take care, y'all. Peace.